Hello and welcome to New World Developments and ACE Fixings. You are about to participate in the Health and Safety Induction. I would be grateful if you could pay attention to this presentation. Please turn your mobile phones to silent. This induction is intended to inform and instruct you on the following: why health and safety is important and the benefits of following best practice, your employer's responsibilities and your own. Everyone is responsible for health and safety. A basic overview of health and safety regulations, legislation and guidance. Awareness of safe working practices. The benefits of prompt incident, accident or fault reporting. This induction is composed of 9 modules. The 9 modules are: Module 1, Health and Safety Regulatory Legislation. Module 2, the process of risk assessment. Module 3, Safety in the workplace. Module 4, Safe use of display screen equipment. Module 5, Manual handling risks and safe practices. Module 6, First aid and accident reporting. Module 7, Fire safety awareness. Module 8, Occupational health and hygiene. Module 9, Personal protective equipment. Please listen to each section carefully. This is intended to help you process the information provided in this induction. There are a wide variety of tasks happening within the site, carried out by different operational employees. The list of operational employees are machine operators, material movers, production operatives, quality control, administration and support staff, supervisors and managers. We currently have approximately 160 employees on site. The site at ACE Fixings and New World Developments is a busy site, and you must take care when moving from one place to another. There are heavy goods vehicles making deliveries to the warehouse. In the warehouse, there are forklift trucks and reach trucks moving around. There are forklift trucks moving between the warehouse and the main factory, so it's important you wear a high-vis vest if you're moving between the office and main factory or walking around the site. There are also various types of machinery in the main factory. If you are moving from area to area, stick to the walkways and be aware of the machinery in your vicinity. The definition of safety. What does safety mean? A dictionary will tell you safety is the condition of being protected from or unlikely to cause danger, risk, or injury. But does this make sense in the workplace? The definition of safety in the workplace is more like this. Workplace safety is not only the avoidance of accidents at work, but an ever-evolving system developed to prevent accidents which everyone in the workplace should carry out by proactively identifying possible causes so that suitable controls can be implemented. What does health mean? A dictionary will tell you health is the state of being free from illness or injury. This is also true for the definition of health in the workplace. Why should your employer bother with health and safety? Your employer is required by moral, legal and financial obligations to care for and protect the health of all employees and any other person who could potentially be affected by your workplace activities. The legal duties are that employers must comply with health and safety regulations, such as the Health and Safety at Work Act 1974 in the Great Britain, and in Northern Ireland it is the Health and Safety at Work Order 1978. This includes conducting risk assessments, providing a safe working environment, and ensuring proper training and equipment is available for all staff. Employers have a common law duty of care to protect employees from harm, which includes both physical and mental health. Employers must also protect employees from discrimination, including those with mental health conditions, which can be considered disabilities under the Act. The moral duties are that employers should foster a workplace culture that prioritizes employee well-being, including mental health support and stress management programs. Employers should ensure suitable health and safety practice is implemented throughout the workplace in order to reduce the number of accidents, the number of people injured, and the human cost of those accidents, to fulfill their human responsibilities to the welfare of their employees. The financial duties employees injured at work are likely to lose out financially due to being unable to work. Employers face many unseen costs when accidents occur, such as loss of production time, loss of materials, hiring temporary staff, retraining costs, increased insurance premiums, damage to equipment, overtime costs, loss of customer trust. By fulfilling these obligations, employers not only comply with legal requirements, but also contribute to a healthier, more productive workforce. The requirements of health and safety in the workplace are many and varied. In order to fully grasp what it means, we need to take a look at the prime piece of legislation which governs UK health and safety in the workplace. The Health and Safety at Work Act 1974. A summary of the Health and Safety at Work Act 1974 is as follows. 1. The Health and Safety at Work Act sets out the general principles for health and safety in workplaces inclusive of the employer's duty of care to their employees. 2. The Health and Safety at Work Act 1974 applies to all workplaces in the United Kingdom, regardless of industry. 3. The Health and Safety at Work Act 1974 is known as an enabling act. It allows other regulations and legislation to be made under it. For example, the Management of Health and Safety Regulations, the Control of Substances Hazardous to Health Regulations 2002. 4. The Health and Safety at Work Act 1974 introduces the concept of reasonably practicable. Employers must balance risk versus cost. 5. The Health and Safety at Work Act 1974 sets the penalties handed out for breaches of the Act. These penalties can include unlimited fines and imprisonment. The image shown is the Health and Safety Law poster. The HSE created it to provide a quick overview of the responsibilities placed upon employers and employees by the Health and Safety at Work Act 1974. It is a legal requirement for employers to provide this information to their employees by displaying the Health and Safety Law poster prominently within the workplace, providing the pocket-sized leaflet version of the Health and Safety Law poster to their employees. Ensure that you have read and understood the information contained within the Health and Safety Law poster or your pocket-sized version. Everyone should uphold health and safety in the workplace, and everyone has responsibilities. A summary of the employer's responsibilities under the Health and Safety at Work Act. Your employer is required by law to provide you and your colleagues with a safe working environment. You can find this outlined in Section 2 of the Health and Safety at Work Act 1974. A summary of your employer's responsibilities under the Health and Safety at Work Act are: 1. Provide and maintain safe plant and equipment at all times. 2. Ensure employees' safe use, handling and transport of articles and substances. 3. Provide sufficient information, instruction, training and supervision to their employees as far as reasonably practicable. 4. Ensure safe access and egress is always available at the workplace. 5. To provide a safe, suitable working temperature. 6. To provide adequate ventilation, natural or forced. 7. Provide appropriate welfare facilities, including toilets, washing facilities, and drinking water. 8. Ensure lighting in the workplace is suitable to allow employees to move around and work safely. 9. Ensure there are cleanliness and hygiene plans in place to keep the workplace and individual workstations clean and tidy. This has been said more than once during the first part of this induction. Health and safety is everyone's responsibility. Under the Health and Safety at Work Act, employees have key responsibilities to ensure not only their own safety, but also the safety of their colleagues and anyone else affected by their work activities. Here are some of the main responsibilities. 1. Employees must take reasonable care for their own health and safety and that of others who may be affected by their actions or inactions. 2. Cooperate with your employer at all times regarding health and safety. 3. Ensure you use work items provided to you correctly and safely, including general work tools and control measures implemented to protect you. 4. Never misuse or interfere with workplace health and safety arrangements. 5. Comply with any instructions, training and guidance provided by their employer to ensure safe working practices. 6. Promptly report any hazards, unsafe conditions, or near-miss incidents to their employer or designated safety representative. 7. Correctly use any personal protective equipment, PPE, and safety devices provided by the employer. By understanding and fulfilling these responsibilities, employees contribute to creating a safer and healthier work environment for everyone. As New World Developments has more than 5 employees, we are required by law to develop and communicate a documented health and safety policy. The health and safety policy must contain New World Development's statement of intent regarding health and safety, information on New World Developments, who developed the policy and the company's arrangements regarding health and safety. New World Development has a health and safety policy which is reviewed at least annually by the Managing Director, Asa McGillian. The policy is displayed on all notice boards and is available to all staff. The Health and Safety at Work, Act 1974 and the Health and Safety at Work, Order 1978, are cornerstone pieces of legislation in the UK. Here are some key takeaways. Employer responsibilities. Employers must ensure, so far as is reasonably practicable, the health, safety and welfare at work of all their employees. This includes providing safe systems of work, adequate training and a safe working environment. Employee duties. Employees also have a duty to take care of their own health and safety and that of others who may be affected by their actions. They must cooperate with their employers and use safety equipment provided. Health and safety policies. Businesses with 5 or more employees must have a written health and safety policy. Enforcement. The Health and Safety Executive, HSE, and local authorities are responsible for enforcing the Act. They have the power to inspect workplaces, investigate accidents, and prosecute those who breach the regulations. Penalties. Non-compliance with the Act can result in fines, imprisonment, or both. What is risk assessment? While the intention of this induction is not to provide you with training in risk assessments, it is important that you understand the process and are able to read the documents recorded during them. Your employer is required to perform risk assessments throughout your workplace. When undertaking risk assessments, your employer is required to look at the tasks under their control and assess whether or not the risks associated with the work can affect the health and safety of their employees or other people. Where they find a risk that potentially could cause harm, to implement adequate control measures to prevent, where reasonably practicable, or reduce the risk. An employer must ensure that completed risks assessments are suitable and sufficient. The process takes in numerous factors, including the identification of the hazards which present significant risk, instead of concentrating on trivial matters, ensuring that the recorded risk correlates directly to the level of risk arising from the employer's work activity. Ensuring the risk assessment is appropriate for the nature of the work and the time period it is likely to remain valid. Smaller businesses generally face simpler hazards and need only undertake simple risk assessments. With regards to more complex work activities, it may be necessary to undertake specialist risk assessments, implement safe systems of work, provide method statements, hire in specialist consultants. New World Developments have area and task, specific risk assessments, as well as safe systems of work, all of which are available at all cells on the compliance posters. Risk assessments are reviewed regularly according to accidents and incidents or monthly quarterly reviews, or any change of process, machinery, tools, and equipment. There are 96 risk assessments for the different areas and tasks around the factory. Safety signals and signs are a fast and effective method of communicating health and safety information to everyone in the workplace. If you are uncertain of the meaning behind safety signs and the actions required by them, it is required by law that your employer provides sufficient information, instruction, and training on safety signage. Each category of the safety sign is to be designed to fit specific requirements. Each sign in the same category must be the same colour. Every sign in the same category must be the same shape. Each sign in the same category must be the same size. They must also be regularly maintained or replaced immediately if it becomes faded or damaged. There are too many signs to list here, however. Safety signs and signals are generally broken down into the following 4 categories: 1 warning, 2 prohibition, 3 mandatory, 4 informational. Warning signs are designed to stand out and inform you that there is a danger present and to take precautions. Each warning sign is a yellow triangle bordered in black with a black icon in the center to indicate the nature of the warning. Prohibition signs are designed to inform you that certain behaviour is not permitted in the area. Each prohibition sign is a white circle bordered in red with a black icon in the centre to indicate the nature of the prohibition. Mandatory signs are designed to inform you that certain requirements are enforced. Each mandatory sign is a blue circle with a white icon in the centre to indicate the nature of the enforcement required. Informational signs are designed to quickly inform you of important health and safety information. Each informational sign is a green square with a white icon in the centre to indicate the nature of the provided information. The control of substances hazardous to health, COSH. The majority of chemicals or other hazardous substances used in workplaces are capable of causing harm to people's health. The control of substances hazardous to health regulations place requirements on employers to adequately control the exposure of their employees to hazardous substances to prevent that harm. Chemical or COSH risk assessments must be completed for all hazardous substances in the workplace or the tasks involving those substances. Determine the risks associated with working with hazardous substances and what precautions should be taken to avoid ill health or injury. Must be read and understood before anyone is allowed to work with the substances. Hazard communication, hazard information is communicated through COSH assessments, safety data sheets, and substance product labels. This must be communicated to and understood by employees before any work is allowed to commence. The hazard communication symbols, or hazard pictograms, are designed to alert people to the presence of hazardous chemicals. They're required to be placed prominently on products' labels. There are several different symbols, each indicating a particular type of hazard, from a general warning to danger to the environment. The latest symbols were implemented by the United Nations under the GHS Globally Harmonized System and are very similar to the previous symbols under the CHIP system. Some simple rules when dealing with hazardous substances. 1. Do not use any substance if you are not trained to use it. 2. Review material safety data sheets first. 3. Always check the label. 4. PPE is mandatory. 5. Think about illness and injury. 6. First aid treatment for eye injuries will be checked at hospital. The new European chemical safety symbols are part of the Classification, Labelling and Packaging (CLP) regulation. These symbols align with the Globally Harmonized System, GHS, which standardizes hazard communication globally. Here are some of the key symbols. The gas under pressure label has a gas cylinder on the pictogram. The corrosive label has a substance causing corrosion to a hand and piece. The serious health hazard label has a person with 6 pointed stars over the chest pictogram. The toxic label has a skull and crossbones pictogram. The health hazard label has an exclamation mark as a pictogram. The flammable label has a flame pictogram. The hazardous to the environment label has a dead tree and fish on the pictogram. The oxidizing label has a flame over a circle. The explosive label has an exploding bomb pictogram. The control of electricity, electrical devices are common in every workplace. It is important that your employer implements adequate maintenance procedures to ensure electrical devices are kept in good working order. Maintenance must be carried out regularly through planned inspections and testing of each electrical device in the workplace. Inspections and tests must be carried out by a competent person. Electrical sockets. For the electrical devices to be used as safely as possible, it's important to have access to adequate, safe electrical sockets. Never should an employer allow the use of extension cords or socket adapters unless the work will be undertaken over a very short period of time. Where damaged electrical sockets or devices are found, use of those devices should immediately stop, and the relevant person should be informed. Damaged electrical devices pose significant risk through frayed or loose wires and overheating sockets or devices. When found, notification must also be immediately posted close to the device to inform people of the dangers. Employer responsibilities ensure routine inspections are carried out by competent persons to check for damage and faults. Repair or replace damaged or faulty electrical equipment and sockets. Electrical devices are regularly PAT, portable appliance tests, tested or as dictated per risk assessment. Controlling office safety. Office equipment is often overlooked when you think of danger. However, there are some key points that each office worker should keep in mind. Filing cabinets are heavy equipment and should have their weight evenly distributed to ensure they can never topple over. You should also never fill a filing cabinet so that it is top-heavy. Top-heavy equipment is far more likely to topple or be knocked over. The heaviest items should be stored in the bottom drawers. If 2 or more of a filing cabinet's drawers are opened at the same time, this means there has been a fault in the locking mechanism and you should report this to the relevant supervisor or manager immediately. Shelving should be strong enough for its load and only used for its intended purpose. The shelving needs to be properly secured to the wall, with enough support to adequately hold its contents. Should you spot the telltale signs that the shelving is inadequate, you must immediately report it to the relevant supervisor or manager, so steps can be taken to lower the load the shelf is bearing. You should never use office chairs or shelving to reach high places. This can lead to serious accidents. Ensure you use only steps, ladders, or proper stools that are correct for the height you are attempting to reach. The HSE reports every year that slips and trips are the most common injury reported in UK workplaces. Here are some of the most common reasons. Wet floors. Spillages are very common. Fortunately, they're also one of the easiest hazards to protect against. Ensure spillages are immediately reported to the relevant supervisor or manager so it can be contained and cleaned promptly. Wet floors signs should be placed to inform people of the danger. Trip hazards. Keep an eye out for and remove any trip hazards. These include loose items or objects, boxes or other types of containers, etc. Uneven flooring. Raised floor coverings present serious trip hazards. They can include loose floor tiles, shallow, unmarked steps. Ensure uneven flooring is immediately reported to the relevant supervisor or manager so it can be repaired or replaced. Cables. Much of the equipment used in workplaces is powered by electricity, meaning there are cables trailing from the sockets to the equipment. Ensure cables are not allowed to trail over walkways and secure them into an effective cable management system. Most workplaces in the world have at least some type of computer equipment that requires looking into a screen. If you're using display screen equipment, DSE, for a short time, there isn't much risk to your health. However, if you're working with computers and display screen equipment for extended periods of time, there is a real risk to your health. The health risks frequent DSE users face depend highly on the working environment and the position of the computer and other office equipment. They can occur at varying rates and can be attributed to a combination of bad posture, frequency of use, and force applied. These health risks include musculoskeletal disorders, physical fatigue, visual fatigue, upper limb disorders. These types of health risk can be significantly reduced by making simple adjustments to furniture, the immediate environment, and the computer equipment. This will ease pressure on your body and eyes. The immediate environment is a very important factor when working with display screen equipment. Light. Light is the most common problem when positioning display screen equipment so it doesn't damage the eyes. Direct and indirect light can cause glaring or reflections which, when stared at for prolonged periods, can cause serious eye damage. Ensure light is controlled suitably using blinds, curtains or shades, etc. The rest of your workstation setup is equally important when you use computers at work for extended periods of time. An office chair must meet a few standards before it can be used. It must have 5 or more casters, be able to support your back, lumbar support, and must be adjustable. When sitting at a computer workstation, ensure that you sit correctly with the lumbar support in the right position. This stops pressure from being put on your spine and pelvis. The desk should be sturdy, suitable, and large enough for the work required. You should have ample leg room, with enough space to stretch your legs under the table. Ensure you take at least a 5-minute break away from your desk in every hour to avoid visual fatigue, back pain, or headaches. Keyboards should be positioned in a way that the person's forearms are able to rest comfortably in a horizontal position on the desk without excessive bending of the wrists or elbows. The same applies when using a mouse. Each arm should feel reasonably relaxed and supported. Display screen equipment. The monitor should be adjustable and set at a height that is approximately at eye level. There should be the ability to adjust brightness and contrast, and the screen should never flicker. Faulty screens should be immediately discontinued and replaced. If you are going to be using display screen equipment daily for continuous periods of an hour or more as part of your normal work, as part of your onboarding, you will receive a DSE assessment form. When you have your workstation set up, if you can complete the DSE form and email it to Nathan Hall. What is manual handling? The HSE reports that more than 1/3 of all accidents reported in the workplace are due to manual handling. The majority of those accidents can be directly attributed to the individual's improper lifting and carrying techniques. In everything but the worst cases, these improper methods can cause very serious musculoskeletal disorders. The very first option in the hierarchy of controls says the safest way to lift something is to not lift it at all. Before any manual task, ask yourself these questions. Do you really need to move the object? Are you able to lift safely? How far do you need to carry it? Is the path clear or obstructed? If you're unable to determine the weight, should you really be moving it? Just by standing back and taking a real look at the task and the load before you lift anything could identify something that may have put you at the risk of sustaining an injury. For example, the box you are lifting is wet and causes your hands to slip. The load inside the container is not secured properly and places unnecessary strain on the back and shoulders because it moves as you lift it. Consider that the load needs to be picked up in a certain way, one that allows you to get a solid grip on it. Always ask for assistance if the load requires 2 or more people. Never attempt to lift heavy loads without supervision. The positioning of your body is critical when performing manual handling tasks. Picking up heavy loads places a lot of strain on the body, so it's important to ensure you follow safe lifting techniques. Position yourself directly over the load with your leading foot set slightly forward. Ensure your feet are placed approximately at shoulder width to preserve balance and that the load's center of weight is as close to your body as possible. Where possible, always place your feet along the sides of the load still shoulder length apart. This will ensure you don't overbalance in any direction when you perform the lift and that you're able to keep your back in as natural a position as possible throughout the lift. Is step 1. Once you are correctly positioned above the load, lower yourself down by bending your knees. Do not tense your body. This will allow your back to maintain its natural position. Step 2. Ensure your body remains relaxed and that you never hold your breath when lifting. Take a hold of the load, ensuring you do not overstretch and that the roots of your fingers grip the load firmly into your hands. Ensure there is no slippage and that you never stoop or squat as you prepare to lift. Step 3. Before you execute the lift, first raise your eyes from the load and look directly forwards. This will allow your back to return to its natural and relaxed position before you rise. Step 4. Using the strength of your legs, smoothly raise yourself into an upright position, ensuring you maintain a firm grip on the load with your arms as close to your body as possible. Your manual handling task isn't complete until you have safely lowered your load. Using proper safe manual handling techniques is just as important for lowering a heavy load as it is when lifting it. To safely lower a heavy load, simply reverse the actions you take when lifting the load. Ensure you keep the load as close to your body as possible and smoothly bend your knees to lower yourself to the ground. Once you are close to the ground, slowly place the load on the floor, ensuring you keep your back relaxed. Tensing your body when performing manual handling tasks is known to be more stressful on it, making a person more prone to injury. Again, when it comes to manual handling, the safest way to lift a heavy object is to not lift it at all. If it's absolutely impossible to avoid lifting a heavy object or container, mechanical assistance should be considered. Cranes, pallet trucks, forklift trucks, conveyors, etc. If the load is deemed too heavy for one person, assistance should be sought from a colleague. If a manual handling task is deemed dangerous by the individual lifting the load or the supervisor overseeing the task, then the employer must perform a manual handling risk assessment and implement suitable adequate control measures before the task can be completed. Mechanical aids must only be used by trained operators. First aid is the emergency care or treatment of a person who has contracted a sickness or received an injury before professional medical services arrive on the scene. It is a legal requirement for employers to provide first aid arrangements for their employees. Workplaces are often dangerous places, and people become sick or are injured far more common than most people think. Employers must ensure any sick or injured worker receives immediate first aid attention from a trained on-site nurse or doctor. The exact first aid requirements will be determined by various factors, including the size of the workplace, the size of the workforce, the work carried out, etc. However, regardless of size or the work carried out, each workplace must employ an adequate number of fully qualified first aiders or emergency aiders and store an adequate number of first aid kits under the control of an appointed lead first aid officer. To determine the exact requirements of the workplace, the employer must carry out an assessment of first aid needs. They must look at the whole workplace and identify which injuries or sickness could happen. This will allow the employer to determine which equipment, facilities, and personnel should be provided. Emergency treatment boxes are placed throughout the factory and offices. If you are unsure where the nearest first aid box is to you, speak to your line manager. There are trained first aiders on all shifts and in all areas. All available first aiders are displayed on the notice boards. Accident reporting is everyone's legal obligation, and it's extremely important that it is done promptly. Injuries and illness should be reported to the relevant supervisor, manager, and on-site first aid or emergency response. If a first aider is immediately informed of an illness or injury, they can quickly determine the severity of the sickness or injury and decide what further action should be taken. With regards to serious illness or injury, the emergency services should also be immediately notified, along with the relevant supervisor, manager, or on-site first aid response. Any information relevant to the accident, the injured person, existing conditions, allergies, etc., and the injury should be communicated to the emergency services so they know what to expect when they arrive on the scene. All accidents must be reported to a supervisor or manager, no matter how trivial it is. Every accident must also be investigated and the results recorded. This is important because the information provided will help to prevent future accidents of the same nature from happening to other employees. As stated previously in this section, it is the legal obligation of every employee when witnessing an accident to immediately report it. The employer and their health and safety team should have implemented arrangements for the investigation of incidents and accidents at the correct level to ensure prevention of a reoccurrence. Every accident investigation is likely to involve a review of the company's existing safety management systems and lessons learned. RIDDOR is the UK legislation dictating the law regarding the reporting of injuries, diseases and dangerous occurrences regulation, RIDDOR. 2013, in Northern Ireland, the legislation is the Reporting of Injuries, Diseases and Dangerous Occurrences Regulations, 1997. While you, as an employee, report accidents to your supervisor or manager, your employers must report accidents and injuries to the relevant enforcing regulatory body. In the case of workplace accidents, near misses and injuries, that is the Health and Safety Executive. There are 3 categories of incidents which have to be reported to the HSE as a RIDDOR. Over 3-day injuries are reportable. This applies to injuries resulting from accidents to people who are at work and to injuries which are not reportable under major injuries. A report must be sent to the enforcing authority if the injured person is incapacitated for work for more than 3 consecutive days, not counting the day of the accident but including any days which would not have been working days. Major injuries to be reported are as follows: any fracture, other than to the fingers, thumbs or toes. Any amputation. Dislocation of the shoulder, hip, knee or spine. Loss of sight, whether temporary or permanent. A chemical or hot metal burn to the eye, or any penetrating injury to the eye. Any injury resulting from an electric shock or electrical burn, including any electrical burn caused by arcing or arcing products. Any incident leading to unconsciousness or requiring resuscitation or admittance to hospital for more than 24 hours. Dangerous occurrences to be reported to the HSE are as follows: an explosion or fire occurring in any plant or premises which results in the stoppage of that plant or, as the case may be, the suspension of normal work in those premises for more than 24 hours where the explosion or fire was due to the ignition of any material. Any unintended collapse or partial collapse of any building or structure, whether above or below ground, under construction, reconstruction, alteration or demolition, which involves a fall of more than 5 tons of material. Electrical short circuit or overload attended by fire or explosion which results in the stoppage of the plant involved for more than 24 hours or which has the potential to cause the death of any person. The collapse of, the overturning of, or the failure of any load-bearing part of any lift or hoist, crane, or derrick mobile-powered access platform. The aim of accident and near-miss reporting is to create a better health and safety standard and culture. You will see the See It Shout It poster around the factory and offices. If you see a hazard, please report it as soon as possible. Simply scan the QR code on the poster and complete and submit the online form. This will be sent directly to the compliance team who will investigate immediately. Fire safety. Extinguishers are located around the site. Only trained fire wardens are permitted to use them. Weekly fire alarm call point testing takes place every Thursday, New World Development's factory building between 3 and 3:30 p.m. Ace Fixing's warehouse building between 3:30 and 4 p.m. If you hear the fire alarm outside of these times, please evacuate via the nearest emergency exit and gather at the muster point at the front of the main office building at Car Park. Step-by-step fire safety prevention. Considering fire is such a large danger, there are some surprisingly easy steps you can take to reduce the potential for fires to start in your workplace, and again, anywhere else. Ensure unnecessary clutter is removed promptly. For example, equipment not in use, paperwork, furniture, and disused cleaning materials. Ensure all generated trash or rubbish is promptly removed to a waste bin or safe area. Prevent the unnecessary build-up of clutter in high-risk areas. For example, fire exits, switch cupboards, plant rooms, enclosed work areas. Assess and control external waste storage equipment areas. Waste storage is generally full of flammable materials awaiting collection. Ensure there is no way for it to ignite. The fire emergency evacuation plan. In the case that a person requires special assistance to safely exit the building, the employer must implement person-specific emergency evacuation plans. This person-specific plan should be shared with other appropriate people, assuring privacy and data protection is taken into account. If you feel you do not hold enough information to safely exit a building on fire, you must immediately request further information, instruction, and training from your supervisor, manager, or employer. You should also reread the company's fire safety policy and fire emergency evacuation plan. In the event of a fire occurring, if a fire occurs in your workplace, you should follow the following guidelines. Never stop to collect personal belongings, no matter how valuable or sentimental. If the fire alarm has already been sounded or emergency support personnel have begun the evacuation procedures, you should immediately leave the building and assemble at the fire meeting point. If you pass through doors on your egress, ensure you close them properly as you leave. Always follow designated pathways. For example, always stay to the designated side of the hallways, never use elevators. Where reasonably practicable, avoid areas filled with smoke. If you're already in an area filled with smoke or need to enter such an area, always crawl as low to the ground as possible. Never deviate from the designated route to the fire meeting point. Your employers need to perform head counts to ensure that everyone was able to safely leave the building. Ensure you are where you are supposed to be. If you do not work directly with food, it is still important that you know and understand the basics of food hygiene and the dangers of eating contaminated foods. Ensure you refrigerate your food in sealed containers. Refrigeration slows the rate of decay in food, and sealed containers will prevent any contaminants from entering your food. Ensure you cook your food to at least 75 degrees Celsius. This temperature will kill all harmful bacteria, allowing you to safely eat it. The bacteria that cause food poisoning multiply the fastest in the danger zone. That is between 4 degrees Celsius and 60 degrees Celsius. Ensure you wash your hands before going for your lunch. Also, ensure you clean down any surfaces before and after you use them. For best hand hygiene, follow these steps. Step 1. Wash your hands whenever you enter or leave a food handling area. Step 2. Wash your hands before preparing food. Step 3. Wash your hands after touching raw food. Step 4. Wash your hands after handling food waste or the waste bin. Step 5. Wash your hands after cleaning down the countertops. Step 6. Wash your hands every time you touch your face or head while working with food. Step 7. Ensure you thoroughly dry your hands using a disposable towel. Harmful bacteria can spread more easily if your hands are still wet or even slightly damp. What is personal protective equipment? Personal protective equipment, PPE, is the plethora of equipment or clothing that is designed to protect you against a variety of health risks you face in the workplace. The majority of workplaces require some form of PPE to be worn for protection against hazards. PPE includes safety helmets, hard hats, safety glasses, goggles, full-face visors, respirators, gas masks, ear defenders, earplugs, protective jackets, aprons, high-visibility clothing, gloves, gauntlets, mittens, toe-protecting footwear, reinforced footwear. It is a legal requirement that the employer provides PPE to every employee who is deemed to need protection through risk assessment of their tasks. Employers must provide PPE free of charge and ensure that all PPE fits their workers properly so that it works as intended. What you need to know about PPE. PPE is the last line of defense against hazards. If the employer deems it necessary for employees to wear PPE for a task, it means that every other control measure is not capable of reducing the risk of harm to acceptable levels. If you're asked to wear PPE, do so. Failing to do so increases your risk of receiving injury or sickness significantly. The personal protective equipment, PPE regulations, require that risk assessments must be performed to ensure that the correct PPE is provided to employees. They must also ensure all provided PPE fits the user properly and is appropriate to the task. In the event that your PPE is not adequate to protect you, or you find a fault or defect with it, immediately report it to your supervisor or manager. Damaged or faulty PPE must be immediately replaced. Inadequate PPE should trigger a review of the relevant risk assessment and its applicable controls. You should use any provided PPE as it is intended by the employer. Misusing or failing to use PPE in any way is likely to increase your risk of harm significantly. PPE is issued to keep you safe from harm. Ensure you use it. There are PPE issue form posters placed all over the factory and offices. If you need any PPE, simply scan the QR code. This will bring up an online form, fill and submit the form. Your PPE will be brought to you. Safety footwear, safety glasses and high-vis are mandatory in all areas of the factory at all times. Ear protection to be worn dependent on tasks being carried out. New world developments and ACE fixings see continuous improvement in manufacturing as crucial for maintaining competitiveness, enhancing efficiency, and ensuring long-term success. It embodies a commitment to consistently refining processes, products, and services. Here are some key benefits. Boosting efficiency. By identifying and eliminating waste, bottlenecks, and redundancies, manufacturing processes become faster and more cost-effective. Quality enhancement. Continuous improvement emphasizes detecting and addressing defects or inconsistencies, leading to higher quality products. Cost reduction. Streamlining operations and minimizing errors reduce costs in production and resource usage. Customer satisfaction. Improved quality and consistency in products translate to better customer experiences and loyalty. Adaptability. In an ever-changing market, continuous improvement fosters innovation and helps manufacturers stay ahead of technological advancements and consumer demands. Employee engagement. Encouraging feedback and suggestions for improvement from employees enhances morale and builds a collaborative work environment. Around the factory and office notice boards, you will see the continuous improvement idea posters. If you have an idea which could benefit health and safety, operations, quality, or the environment, we encourage you to simply scan the QR code on the poster, fill in the online form and submit. This will be sent to the continuous improvement team who will look into the idea and provide feedback to you on the progress. Thank you for participating in this general induction training. Your commitment to safety and compliance is vital in creating a secure workplace for everyone. If you have any questions, please contact Nathan Hall at the email address shown. Stay informed and stay safe.